let's get underway. Welcome to Talk of the Town, proudly brought to you by Uniquely Nelson. I'm your host, Chris Butler. With me, Simon Duffy, General Manager of Uniquely Nelson.
Morning, Ben. Morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
Today, we're coming to you from the Trafalgar Centre because we actually thought, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Brownie from the car company, nice to have you here.
Cheers, Chris.
But we've got out, you're bringing your cars with you. So we got the Trafalgar Centre all set up, ready to go. But it might have been just a little bit of a miscommunication.
Bring back cost your car.
Bring back cost your car.
Got a Ford Anglia.
We were talking about that just, we'll say off camera before. So Ben, obviously you're what now, part owner? How do you describe your position now at the car company?
Yeah, so some people at work might call me something else, but my my name is General Manager, and Shane and I, we're 50% each in the company. Obviously Shane's been there right from the start, and I've been along from the ride for coming up 18 years now.
Wow.
I spent 11 years of it as a part owner with Shane in the Richmond branch. And as time's progressed on in the last 4 years, he's brought me in to take over operations and general manager for the group. Obviously it's his baby and he loves it and is passionate about it. So we're doing it together. So, but yeah, my role can be everything from being on the floor, talking to customers, repeat customers, to doing a lot of buying. And working with the team, and a great team we've got.
So it's just interesting going back to cost your car, because you mentioned before that some clients still talk to you about that.
Yeah, it is actually. Like, I think people love hearing, people on the radio or stories or seeing people they know, and because we're a community size, that's a nice small knit community. Everyone knows everyone. We still run into people today, and hey, we've got Alex Oliver still working for us. He's one of the longest serving members out there. And in our meetings in recent times with Shane and Ollie, we've actually been laughing about cost your car and how people are coming in today and they still remember it. Mm-hmm. So it's a segment that worked really well.
Yeah. It was really interesting. Before my time in radio, I used to hear it, but then I was either paneling or had to do a Saturday morning, and they'd come, they have these big books, which were actually all the makes and models of all the different cars. And then people would ring up.
No trade me then.
No, nothing online. They were massive. They're about these things. But actually, what amazed me was that they, half the time, it was very rare that they would actually use the book. And someone would ring up and say, "Oh, I've got a 1975 Ford Anglia. How many Ks on that, Bob? Da 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 da." And then someone like Alex would go, "Is that a blue one?" He goes, "Yeah, it is." I said, "Oh, I sold that position."
And he'd probably be able to reel off the rego number as well.
Yeah, that's right. And then
the year and the family and everyone that was in the family that has the car.
And I guess because they traded all the time, they actually pretty much knew what the market was. But, these days when you're looking for an appraisal, I guess you go and trade me and get a bit of a feel, or come and have a chat to you guys. But in those days, of course, you rang up and and 9 times out of 10, you're pretty much on the money, weren't you?
Yeah, and back then you had, I guess, your colour choice wasn't like it was today. You had a couple of variants, and they had they were doing it all day, every day. They had it pinpointed down, and now you've got every stat coming out from every platform, basically telling you what your car's worth. So now it's it's all the online world, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is very much so. So let's go back to a little bit about your background. So where are you originally from?
Yeah, so originally grew up, actually, when I was born. We just moved. We basically finished building our place in Upper Mootry.
Ah, right.
So out in back then, everyone would call it as a hick town. It's probably grown to be a little bit more of a bigger village now. Out in
your neighbours,
it's a bigger hick town.
Yeah, you were neighbours.
We were in Mootries.
So we were up Martin's Road, so gravel road off Callings Road, and went to the local school there at Upper Mootry School. Grew up there straight from when I was born. So always in Nelson, and family out there. I had two brothers and 2 sisters. So we were quite a big family, and I was the third in line in age. And we were lucky, really lucky growing up out there. It was the times when, as kids, you'd be running around in the paddocks, and everything was outdoors, and you were having a ball that way. Hugely, we were dominated by being into our sports. We all loved our sports, so
Yep.
much to my mum becoming a full-time taxi.
Yeah, that's right.
You lived that far enough out of town, and all you wanted to do was where the next sporting event was
Yeah.
on. So I was a midget, and I stayed a midget for everyone at school, probably even in my teenage years. I was just so tiny, I was so competitive and driven with sports through my parents and the way they brought us up to be go hard with everything that we did do. But yeah, I had this humongous passion for like sports like tennis. Dedicated my life to tennis for a long time. So yeah, I was midget. All my clothes. I remember we always had the bigger clothes, which would last you the years ahead. So it looked like I had a dress or a skirt on all the time instead of shorts. Big ears. Everyone always knew my big ears, so I stood out. And yeah, I think the country school life, it was walk to the end of the road, jump on the bus, go to school, and you went through until basically before you were going to college. So
Did you get a mott?
no, so I ended up going into Waimea College just because really
Another one.
my brothers and sisters.
So you two never cross paths.
How old are you?
But I may look 48, but I'm only just turning 38 this year. So
Again.
so it's the
And
grey
again.
the grey trim. I'm not sure if it's the industry I'm in or the life I've had, but yeah, I'm hopefully still what they call it.
Were you a prefect at Waimea?
No, I was tried to be, but they wouldn't let me.
It's the best year of my life. Man, we got things sorted out. There's discipline applied.
They gave you authority at school.
Oh, it's out marching up and down the parade ground. Assemblies were never the same again.
No, all us brownies tried actually to be in the final year, getting some form of prefect, but no, they turned us down each time. But it's quite funny, you still run into teachers that are there now that when we were then there, and it's really cool that I think you become friends and you're running in each other everyday life.
So not too dissimilar, and I wonder if that's the connection with Shane, because quite similar background. He's a Motueka lad, but regional. Motueka College, and sport was a big part of his background.
Yeah, totally. I think the connection. I've always believed kid in sport stays out of court, and upbringing wise, if within schools, if you're interested in sports or something that really grabs you to drive you. I remember, even with soccer and tennis in the younger years, people on the sideline, parents and that, and it was kind of like, that Saturday day was what you lived. You lived for, and you treated it like it was like an All Blacks match or something like that, and you were only the age of 6 or 7. So I was driven to win massively from a young age, and I think the coaches and probably just all the people around from a young age, when I used to do tennis 6 days a week and train and live for it, that I found work ethic wise, and the friends and everyone throughout New Zealand that you generated from that was the best start that I ever had. Getting into work at a young age and business wise, like Shane did, getting in at a young age and being driven. But yeah, I've always sort of thought, if it is to be, it's up to me. I love to put the emphasis back on yourself. As much you put into whatever you do is as much as you kind of get out of it.
So it's that thing like, whatever you do in life, you write your own report.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of kids who come in with the report and go, "Oh, that teacher did it." No, you wrote that report.
Yeah,
that's what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah, 100%. And
I'd have to stay behind after school
and apologise to everybody at school, for your bad behaviour.
Although my lovely wife Wendy, she'll say, when I was growing up and younger, I was really shy, and so I was like an introvert growing up, and she was like, now she's, that's a bloody bunch of crap. Look at you, acting and dancing, and you're the bloody life of the party. So at some stage, something switched, but I think that would have been part of my parents. They were absolute, well, probably my dad's side, party animals. So our place was like the place where there was massive dancing things going on, and we were called the Jackson 5 at one stage. It was like all us kids lined up. I remember them, being like talent quests that they would have at the school hall. And we thought we were the actual Jackson 5, and we did have some freakish kind of hips in our family and that, but it was a real laugh hoot growing up. There was always everyone coming around for a party, and then I guess we were a bit like trained seals. It was like, get up and down,
Yeah.
do this, do that.
Yeah. Bring out the home brew.
Yeah,
There we
there's
go.
always a laugh. Yeah.
You have a big background in the auto trade or auto industry. Has this always been your main career, or did you have a yellow Ford Anglia up in Moochie and a bit of a long thing at the back here, or did you have
Well, actually, that was the first car I learned to drive, was a white Ford
Oh,
Anglia.
there you go.
So
we
now,
had a white Ford Anglia?
yeah,
Are you
might-
sure you're not brothers?
might have
We
been
had
the
a
same
red
one.
top and red hubcap.
Yeah.
Until I rolled it in Newdorf on Jacob's
Oh.
Ladder.
Oh, yeah, that would
So we had the people rode it 3 times and got to the cliff, and a pine tree saved us. And we sat there and we thought, shit, I'm in trouble. It's carless day. I've got no license, got no want of fitness. Mum and Dad don't know I've taken it. But anyway, we got it sorted. That wasn't a good day. That
It was
No.
finding it
The
was
Ford Anglia.
it was a good way to find. I remember finding reverse. It was a little bit tricky in the
Yeah.
Anglia, so it was a great way to learn to drive. But no, I think when I was growing up, all I wanted to do was, probably a lot of kids, is be if you were reasonably good at something and passionate about it, I wanted to be Andre Agassi. That was, my dream was to be a tennis player, until you got to that age and you realized how big the world was, and you were reasonably good in New Zealand and represented New Zealand. But to go that next level, when you lived and breathed it until I was 18, it was kind of like, you got to go overseas, you got to dedicate everything to it 100%.
So in that age group, though, you played at a reasonably pretty good level in New Zealand wide.
Yeah,
right?
I when my juniors, I represented New Zealand overseas in Australia and played nationals, and I was sort of finished in the top 10 in New Zealand in 18s when I got to the end of when I was, nationals level. And but yeah, we had some, like Nelson produced some, like, looking up to people like Matt Dewar, Daniel King Turner. We had some brilliant players that the coach David Jonkers brought through in the earlier years, and so that's what really drove us. And so I went as hard as I could, and I loved it. But as anything, thing comes along, work, money, girls, parties, everything in between. And so I just got to the stage where it was like, you got to be honest with yourself, and you say, is my heart in it to go all the way, or am I just going to go away and have a good time? And that would have still been a good time over in Germany or America doing a scholarship. But I think just that was my dream growing up. But there was one thing as growing up, because my dad was in the industry as well, and dealerships and cars. He would always used to say to me when he had his friends around, and I was a little junior coming through, Ben, what do you want to do when you get older? And he had me trained to say I wanted to be a car dealer from the age of 5, I think.
Right.
So I was kind of screwed from the start.
Yeah, right. So end of that tennis career, then how did you then morph into the car dealers? Did you go straight into that, or did you try?
Yeah, so I don't think I'd even finished I was getting to the end of my final year at school, at college, at year 13, and I basically was going into the after exams, and I pretty much started working straight away for my dad. But he was at the stage where he was finishing up in cars, and Shane was the go-to for new and used cars in the region, and my old man was signalling, hey, Shane Drummond's the way to go to for a career in the industry. And they had a small little dealership together, and that's pretty much where I started out. So I was the groomer, working my way up through the levels and sales and learning from some people that have been in the industry for a long time.
Because that's interesting. Shane, again, that common ground, because he talks about getting a job, and I can't remember the name of the business, but it was in Motueka. Was it Whitwell's?
Whitwell's, yeah.
Whitwell's,
yeah.
and that was, I think, whiteware and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And then, of course, was it Mr. Houston? What was?
Henry Houston.
Henry.
Yeah.
And he talked about 2 mentors.
Yeah, totally.
That basically took him under his wing and showed him the ropes. So not too dissimilar to then Shane looking at you going, actually, I recognise you.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Shane still speaks today that Henry was his mentor.
Yes.
And that Harry got his start in the shoe shop, Whitwell's,
yes.
locally.
Shoe, right.
Yeah,
right.
locally owned business. And I remember to the day I was at the dealership with Dad, and I was just coming in basically to meet Shane for the first time. And he pretty much said, do you think you've got it in you? And I think from that age, I'd always been taught to look someone in the eye when you're speaking to them, handshake, all I guess the manners and the politeness I was brought up with. It was really strict when I was younger. So there was no, eating at the table, dinner. I think all those things that when you're traditionally, well, a lot of kids were brought up, it was ingrained in me. And that's when I probably shook Shane's hand for the first time. It was little things like that we all believed in. But for them, it's about giving someone a start, and he did that. And so I've got to be really thankful for that opportunity from a young age. Yeah.
So it's been quite up and down in the market recently. How are you finding things at the moment, or are we just going through another cycle?
Yeah, no,
In reference to the fiscal envelope at the moment, it's pretty tight.
Yeah, I think this year is definitely in its own catalogue for being harder than what it normally is. I talk to a lot of dealers throughout the country just to get their gauge on how things are going. And I think because there's so many industries, whether it's aquaculture, agriculture, horticulture, farming, vineyard, the whole lot, everyone's got a little bit less going on than what they normally would. Obviously interest rates, that took a huge hit for people, less money to go around everywhere. So it's got to have a flow on effect for, I think, most people. I mean, you still hear these really good positive bubbles of energy and things happening. I think we are, for the length of time we've been in business and the volume of stock we carry and our systems, it helps us to tick through and be going okay. But we're not setting records, but at the same time, we're going better than what we thought we would be going. Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true. It's just an observation for me because I have a cross range of different clients, furniture. I've dealt with dealerships before and other industry, land. Cars for me always seem to be the first to move. And I don't know whether that's something that you've noticed, but when you tend to be the first gauge, and if you are starting to move cars, then about 6 months down the road, the rest of the industry or other industries start following. So that's just a theory of mine. But what's happening at the moment? Are things starting to move a little bit more?
You're 100% right. I think people do look at cars as that thing that you can possibly hold off, or even servicing a car. Things like that, which you don't want to do, but when times get tough, you do that, and it's really hard. But I'm definitely seeing what's really important is the inquiry and the people inquiring coming in the door. And phone calls and the one-stop shop and the facilities with either it's finance or insurance or us just buying a car or selling a car. We're seeing the inquiry and the sales not too far off what we were 6 months, a year ago.
Yeah, right.
And that's really positive. And I don't say that as wanting to skite or rave about how we're ticking along good. It's just the actual inquiry, the energy's coming back more than what it was probably in the worst patch, I think. And just talking to some other people, hearing that too. But it is really hard because you do hear the bubbles of it being a lot more down in some areas as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you would have
new cars. I still think that's not the same as what new cars and used cars. It's quite different. Our pocket of affordable used cars, that's really where the market's at the moment. Our new car sales is definitely down, going okay and getting better inquiry, but definitely a big shift. Like some dealerships in the cities in new cars, they rely on that servicing and parts, and that's not going like it's not even close to what it was going like.
Because that happened when we first came out of that first lockdown in COVID, and a lot of the dealerships going, man, we've never been so busy. It did. Well, everyone sitting at home saving up all their money.
But also that everyone had more money because obviously there's such low interest rates at that time too. Everyone was obviously, hey, let's get going, let's get the economy going, go and do something you wouldn't normally do. I remember that being sort of the phrase at the time. So everyone thought, right, I need to get my ass off and go and do that walk or that bike ride or whatever it might be to generate some business.
But also the screws were tightened a bit because inflation was going through the roof. But now it's starting to get a little bit undone. Car finance or personal finance, the criteria is loosened a bit. They're now talking about, even mortgage finance, just loosening that up a little bit as well. And of course, then we had the OCR rate drop. So there's signs, isn't there? And I was just interested to see what's happening in your industry, because to me that's always a little bit of a gauge. So and then it's a bit like momentum, isn't it? Because once you see a little glimmer of hope, because a lot of the talk's doom and gloom, and everyone's down, tight, but all of a sudden you start hearing, oh, things are bouncing back a bit. It kind of psychologically lifts everybody, doesn't it? And then we just need the All Blacks to win this weekend, and
because our economy relies on it.
It'll be fine.
You're not wrong.
Record gold medals at the Olympics. I mean,
How good
so
was that?
but
things
are looking up, Si. Things are looking up.
Like, I think stick to your knitting and what you do well. Work hard at it. And don't feel like, what am I doing wrong? Because there's a whole lot of people going through that same path.
Some people have said to me, I just wanted to check because I didn't know if it was just us. Are you? And then they ring people in Auckland, but it's all around the country, isn't it?
But that finance one is huge for, I think, a lot of industries. Not with finance. I think Australia tried it, didn't work. New Zealand followed suit, and then it didn't work.
No,
and now it's resulting back to people that should be getting the money and not scrutinised over every last thing on your statement. Actually, these people have got good history. And they can afford it. Make it easier for them.
The when I first met you and Shane a couple of years ago, one of the things you talked about a lot was your community involvement. And what you do in the community, which is, I found, having lived in many places, there's a lot of that with many organisations, especially in Nelson. There's that strong community putting back in. Tell us a wee bit about that.
So I guess I've been there 18 years now, and obviously Shane's been there right from the start, so 28 years. But I think that involvement in your community, where you look after community also likes to support who looks after them. But whether it's sport, Drummy was heavily involved in rugby and loves it, and he's got a passion for it. So that's one thing. He always spent a lot of time and he gets in behind it and he loves to support it. But we've just stretched that out across a lot of other sports over the years, and non-profit organisations as well too. And people, Nelson Women's and Children's Refuge, for one example, until you hear about them or look into the organisation, and some people think it's all fundraised by the government. Sometimes it's partly. Sometimes these organisations get nothing, and then the people that are working there are bending over back to make it work. So I think it's really organisations like that, when you see a need in your community, and if it can do good for lots of people, then it's worth getting them behind it and helping.
Yeah, because that was the evolution I saw, was that, as you said, he, Shane often supported rugby, cricket. But then that kind of expanded as he grew. But then in recent years, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but there was one promotion where, write in if you're a non-profit, and we'll put up, I think it was
charity drive.
But the real turning point, I thought, was Women's Refuge. And that's when I thought, oh, okay, right. Well, you're really extending into other areas now, and I just think that's a fantastic promotion.
That with the charity drive, what that actually did is it brought a whole lot of organisations, non-profit in the area, to our attention that actually needed the help and funding, and then that it gave exposure for those organisations for other businesses to know who they are. So I think that was probably the really big one with us. And so it got to the end of it, and you actually wanted to give that money away, split it up between a few, or give more away, and that's, I think it's just letting people know about it.
I noticed that, we'll write in and we'll give 10 grand to someone. And then I noticed you obviously were sitting there going, how are we going to do this? And you end up splitting, say 5K each or something like that too. So
totally. And then, now, hospice, Nelson Tasman Hospice.
Yeah.
I never ever knew until Dancing for a Cause what
Yeah.
they did in the community.
Mm.
You always think it's for people. Obviously, it's a lot of people that have got severe cancer or end of life treatment, but it's a whole lot more than that, and the amount that they need is humongous. So I think that, they through the events that they run for fundraising, I think you hear about hospice a lot more, but until we did that, the Dancing for a Cause and MBS behind it, you don't really quite know the in-depth of the numbers and the stats, what the organisation needs.
They've just announced the new participants, I guess.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience. What are they up for?
Yeah, well, they're up for a lot.
I mean, of course, we didn't know you
coming back.
We didn't know you had pedigree with the Jackson Five, so I didn't realise you had that massive dancing background. But tell us about how it went for you, and of course, the support.
Yeah, no, they run an extremely well run event, and the more people you can, the wider network you can get off, all the tentacles, as you say it, for different people to help fundraise for an important cause. That's what makes it a treat. And then if you can bring businesses into that all want to help raise even more money. But what from the team that started it to now and how it's grown, and it's almost like it's doubling the amount raised nearly every time.
It's just amazing what's raised.
Humongous amount.
Yeah.
Like the dancing side of it, a lot of fun and nerves, and you're shitting yourself and you can't sleep and you can't remember your steps, and you're thinking, am I going to make it on the night? And like the crew that we went through with, we had a lot of fun. But I just remember everyone coming off at the end of the night with all the screaming and the lights out there. Every single person, they actually wanted to go back out there and do it again.
Yeah.
They were buzzing that much.
Yeah.
But it's a really long build up. But you get a lot out of that, and the results at the end for hospice is unreal. Yeah. But you certainly, you go into it not quite realizing how much they do, and then you come out at the end and you think these are all people that have got their own lives and jobs and work, and they're all just doing it for the same goal.
Yep.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Hospice is mum went through hospice.
Yeah.
And we had her at home. They came and set up. We were part when they were building the new one. We did Yuki Nelson was anything they had, putting it out there, and it's still ongoing, supporting hospice. That's an amazing organisation. Anything and everything. They do go above and beyond.
Yeah, no, they're exceptional, and everybody knows someone, I think, that's
been touched
at the hospice. And I know my wife, Wendy, with her father was exactly the same thing in Napier, and everyone says how highly they speak of the staff and the organisation. They really look after.
So now's a chance to give a plug. So tell us what you do at the car company, and also not so long ago, probably a lot of people know about it, but new brand launch in the new car market. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do at the car company?
Yeah, that's cool. So my role generally now is buying vehicles for the company. We've got 3 branches. So the main branch on Rutherford Street 202, which has got sort of the value for money. We could have anything from a $2,000 car through to something over $100,000, and that's sort of the volume market. And then we've got the BYD branch, which is brand new, electric and plug-in hybrid, really fast growing brand. And so that's got late model premium used vehicles on that site too. And then we've got sort of lower end prices on Haven Road on the hillside. And so that's, we would have at any one time over 500 vehicles in stock.
Yeah, right.
And so my role is predominantly to buy good stock within New Zealand and from Japan. So still do probably 4 trips to Japan each year.
Yeah,
right. But my passion is seeing the vehicles, buying the vehicles, seeing the staff get excited on them, selling what we buy. And then I love brainstorming with young Sylvie down there, with marketing and punching ideas around. Some of them, my ideas were stupid, and she'll say, "Now throw that out." And then
how many of his ideas get through, Sylvie? couple. One.
Yeah.
You got to give them one, don't you?
Yeah, you got to get past Sylvia and then Mr. Drummond. So,
All right.
so no, we have team meetings each week, and I still love dealing with people, customers, and selling. And then like we have a lot of banter and a lot of fun. We're still a small. We're a locally owned, obviously. We're still a company that if we want to change something, we'll do it really fast. If something's not working or it is working, we're not ever going to be a big corporate company. We just love keeping it fun, staff that are passionate about what they do. And if you don't like your role or you want to change, there's other opportunities within the company. So that works good. But yeah, I think the thing I love about our industry is that every day is quite different. You never know what's going to happen, what's going to get thrown at you, how busy it's going to be. And I use cars. It's not like a new car. Used cars, one used car will be so different to another one. So that's quite exciting too. I still get that buzz. And then the BYD brand that, we didn't even know a lot about a year ago or 18 months ago. It's just one of the fastest growing electric sustainable brands in the world that do electric cars, plug-in hybrid vehicles. And their sort of ethos and goal is really everything electric, but they started out as a battery company.
Oh,
and
right.
And they really are like, the guy out of university in China that started on his own in a warehouse.
Oh, right.
It's quite a cool story, even
Wow.
though now it's, one of the fastest growing companies in the world, and it's gone into everything electric, whether it's trucks, monorail, energy storage. Like they've got their hands in all sorts of pies, but something like over 110,000 people alone in research and development.
So, because that's always the thing about electric cars, they talk about the battery technology. Yeah. So it's interesting that it's a battery-led company that's developed a car. So,
totally.
The evolution of battery technology and energy storage, that's going to be the key, isn't it? So that's really their baby, isn't it?
I loved when I looked into it, the cell phones, the laptops, all the batteries that we've been using for years. It was from them, and I never knew that.
Yeah.
And then the safety, when they got into cars in the early 2000s, it's really in the last 5 years they decided we're going to go large with this. So in China, they're ginormous, and in New Zealand, you wouldn't really have heard of them. But their battery technology and quality is unreal, in the safety. So the Blade battery was sort of revolutionary for the world in terms of electric cars. And they're just progressing. I never ever thought I would see it. The Japan market is so good and quality and has been great for the world for a long time, but I've never seen a Chinese company coming through like they are, and 650 odd thousand employees and 110,000 in research and development. But they just got this quality point that we wanted to get behind and back. And we, all of our staff, when the new models arrived, they're all invested in it. They want to drive them. They want to be in them. And it's seen with other manufacturers now actually taking on their battery technology. They like, almost like if we can't beat it, we may as well buy it. It's better to do that and put that in our cars.
And if you're not totally convinced on electrical, you've got hybrid options as well.
Yeah,
which in some quarters they're even talking about maybe hybrid being, if electric doesn't go where it says it's going to go. So you've got options, haven't you?
Plug-in hybrid, like 1,100 kilometers range off one. You've charged your car once with a full tank of fuel, and you're getting up to 1,100 kilometers. It's pretty out of it. But they're talking in the future, the battery technology. It's always going to evolve and get better. And we've been in a holding pattern where, obviously the government's been really pushing it, but you've also got to have all of those other vehicles for Kiwis, for their lifestyles and what they do. You can't just turn that off. We need that.
So, it's my favourite. In your spare time, what do you enjoy the most outside work? And can I answer that for you? I just talk jet skis.
Oh, he's not, is he?
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave now. I'll leave you guys to it.
No, we're not going to do cricket.
I'll come back in 2 hours.
But with your family stuff,
Yeah.
Guys work. When you're out and about, what do you enjoy?
So, I mean, like, honestly, waking up on a day when I haven't got work on, obviously, the phone's always going, and that's normal. But in the morning, my wife, Wendy, and I, we love taking our little Mars for a simple walk in the morning, and I love that. It's a refreshing thing to do. Don't do it every day. And we're in a lifestyle property, so I really just enjoy that space. And then going fast. When we're on the water, on the jet skis when it's a beautiful day. Just love the speed and the adrenaline of that, and relaxing on the water. I find it relaxing. I try when I'm time off. My Wens, once again, she'll say, you're talking crap. You're a bloody socialite. But I actually really enjoy your own time. Like I can just be around home for the weekend or whatever, just us hanging out. That's really cool. But I love probably the last few years mountain bike riding, going down a hill, fast, but it's not too fast.
And you haven't broken your collarbone?
No. I kind of, my brother, he's the other end. He goes over the top. I just want to ride to survive.
Oh, okay. So
and enjoy.
You're not a total madman.
But our region, I get people want to live in this region because of how good what we got. Yeah. And so probably just the outdoors, really, where it's a bike ride, where, on the jet skis, or going for a walk. When's my wife, she plays good golf. I play shit golf. I just, go for the walk around the course and hit into the trees. So yeah, anything outdoors like that, really. And then, every now and then you party and I let my hips go. And
let's go. Jackson 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So your main office, right in the heart, in fact, 2 of the yards, almost 3 of the yards actually, pretty much in central CBD, isn't it? So you work there, you operate there. Some of you live in Nelson itself, but as far as Nelson City goes, what do you like about it? But obviously a lot of chat about revitalisation. What can you see that you'd like to see more of?
Yeah, it's a really good one actually, because I think if most people, like in Nelson, we come into Nelson and we're so busy in our days working, you kind of come to work and you go home.
Yeah.
And it's not until maybe in your time off you go into Nelson and then you start to have a look around or walk around. But for me, in the area, I find that people like to go where the beauty is and go and have a coffee next to the water, or they like to go to the hills somewhere with a view. And we like to, even Marpur, for instance, we go out, people go out there, they go by the water, run the wharf, whatever. Yeah. I would love to see Nelson, and it really is part of central Nelson. I'd love to see our waterfront be more like you've got in Wellington, Auckland Viaduct, where we have this beautiful setting, but I don't find we utilise it enough for services, whether it be retail, whether it be restaurants, whatever it might be. I just think we've got that beautiful thing sitting right there, but we don't have enough around it. For me, I mean, shopping, obviously, as we know, some people love going and touching things and buying. Some people do a lot more online shopping these days. And I love seeing young people stay in Nelson because the red tape's not there, and it's easy for them to do local businesses and stay in the area from a young age and not. I mean, some might go away and come back, but I'd like to see the red tape released to make it easier for young people to thrive and have businesses. So I find when people are passionate about something, they do it really well. It actually doesn't matter how many people is in the area. They actually do quite good.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially with online now, if you're under 30, under 40 or whatever, I bump into young people all the time that earning 5 times more than I am, but do no business in Nelson, but they live here, they cycle here. If they do go overseas, they just take their laptop with them, and they've got online teams that they're working with, from all sorts of different places, working for clients all over the world, but they're here. And 100%. It's that second story of Nelson City. You go into some of those and there's zero developers. There's some guy that sold something to Google, and who are these people? But they're here, and we need to encourage that, as you said, drop the red tape, make it accessible, and make it a place for them to live. Part of the problem is affordability, of course. And that's some of the
accommodation to live in.
Well, that's right, because some of the enterprise that I've come across say to me, well, we started the business in Nelson, we're from here, but we can't attract people here because it's too expensive, so we have to
Yeah.
take it elsewhere.
Yeah.
So we've got to address that, and whether that's cohabitive working spaces or or
I
what
rate-
have you.
Yeah, I rate those spaces, workspaces where more people are working together.
Yeah.
I mean, some people absolutely hate it. Some people love it. Higher rise parking or apartments or working spaces, but to get lower costs for people starting business or living in the central town, I think the only way you can do that is by going up.
Yep.
Like they do in other countries. Some people are so against it because it's like the visualness of it, or I live near that. But I think if you're actually in town or you're in a city, you've actually got to expect that growth is going to happen. And if you want to make it affordable, you need to go up. So
to get that growth.
Yeah, and a lot of people are using. It doesn't necessarily have to be cars, because
No,
a lot of them have got their own. They're often mountain biking, or
100%. Yeah, that's right.
Although we do, we do have to have better accessibility, which means that we have to make provision for cars because people need to get in and out easily. That's the other aspect.
And like you look at how good the area is done with trails with mountain bikes, or people getting around on bikes. That's brilliant. That's awesome. And then if you're going to bring people into the town, I find a lot of people come into town to do things or enjoy things with their friends, family, that sort of thing. But you've also got to make it less red tape and easy for people not to say, "Oh, stuff this." I'm young. I'm going to go explore. You've got to have something, a carrot, that makes them think, "Oh no, this is actually, I want to make a go of this here and enjoy it," because you've got the area, you've got the beauty. You don't, that's the big draw card that everyone comes home for eventually. I think make the most of our beauty in terms of the water and the mountains and the hills. But town wise, I'm all for growth, but just allow it to happen. Yeah, that's me.
Very good.
Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards.
Upwards.
There you go. Hey, thank you very much, Ben. Fantastic to hear your background story. Had no idea that you had the talent that you did in dancing.
I don't know
and
if it's talent.
And we won't ask for a demonstration now, but at some point we need to see it.
Why can't we see it now?
Well,
You should see the whole thing. Look at it.
What's that club called at 2 a.m?
we got the stadium, but we just couldn't find the audience at short notice. So sorry about that. Fantastic to hear about your backstory and obviously everything that's going on with the car company, and the fantastic work that you do there, and of course the new brand on. That's going great guns. So it's still strong as ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going well. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys both having us on board and promoting people in Nelson and spreading stories, and that's good. Well, hopefully some good stories.
It's always good stories. Goodness.
Good stuff.
Thank you guys.
A heartfelt thank you to Ben Brownie from the car company. You can find this podcast along with others at uniquelynelson.co.nz and talknelson.co.nz and on Spotify on Uniquely Nelson. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to join us next time for more from Talk of the Town. This is Chris Butler and Simon Duffy signing off. Till next time, Nelson.
Stay unique.
What? He did it first back.
We always change that at the end. I think it's the first. That's the second time.
Got it right.